Oh, y'all thought y'all wasn't gonna see me? I'm the Osiris of the shit. Wu-Tang up in this bitch, motherfucker. I'm just playing, y'all. I'm just playing. We're about to get into Blade, get into this Wesley Snipes, get into this motherfucker, you out your damn mind? Hi, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss 1998's Blade, our second Throwback Thursday, y'all. We out here. Now, this movie stars Wesley Snipes, LaBouche Wright, Chris Christopherson, and many others. Now, this movie is really, really epic on so many levels, and not just because it's the whole Marvel Comics first black situation. It really goes beyond that for me. But before we get into everything Wesley Snipes and everything black horror icons and black vampires, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss Wesley. Hopefully subscribe to see more of me. Let's get into this movie. Now, this movie is epic. With Wesley Snipes acting as producer on this film and really, really pushing for this movie at a time when everybody felt like it was really, really risky for a comic book adaptation, this whole, superhero genre that we see now with all the, the Marvel comics, all this epicness now that makes billions of dollars. This was not a thing back then. The whole Iron Man coast had not happened. This was the first. And I really hate that this film does not get credit for, pushing the whole Marvel comic epidemic into wide range proportions to go, oh, we can make a profit off of this. Let's produce more. This was the first. And this is also the first black comic adaptation. It was not Black Panther. I love me some Wakanda. It was not Black Panther. This was the very first one. And I really wish that this film got the credit it deserves, because not only is it the first attempt, but it's also a really good movie. Now, I also don't think that this film gets enough credit just off of being a horror film. This is a horror movie. Sometimes, it's really easy to forget that and get lost in the, the comic Wesley of it all. This is a horror film, and we don't have a lot of horror icons, especially vampires. Like, if you think black vampires, Blackula, Vampire in Brooklyn, that's about as far as that goes. He is, it for that. He is really cool, peace to Blackula, but he really set a standard and really executed this role really well. And also just to be in horror as, a black, like, you don't hear him spoken of as you would, like a Candyman, or, he's not, horrific in those kind of proportions, but I think he should still be up there to be considered, a black horror icon. This is a horror movie. Though it is Blade and it is a comic, this is a horror movie. Give the man his props. Now, while we're giving him his props, let's just talk about Wesley bodying this role. Like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Coming off the cusp and the copes of, the big, like, Wesley in the 90s was everything. This is coming off of, Shadow and the Quartet. This is coming off, the whole White Man Can't Jump, Nino Brown, all of that, and, Passenger 57. I love that we got a different Wesley here, and he really took some risk here with this role, and he really threw himself into it, and you could tell that he was really dedicated. We got the whole Faye, we got that Simon Phoenix Demolition Man Black Edition Faye that's happening. You ever saw, how matchy that is? Like, I was like that, because I was watching it today. I was like, that look real familiar. What that Simon Phoenix? Another role of his I love, and just how cool he looked. Like, no vampire period looked like him. Like, he looked very contemporary, the all black, the bulletproof situation, the jacket, the sword. the tattoos on the back of the skull, you know, the hazel contacts of it all. Really cool ass looking dude. Like, the whole look was epic. Way to go, Wesley. Now, getting into this movie, I really, really love the tone and the cinematography of this movie. I love that throughout the entire movie, this actually looks like a comic book. A lot of, you know, comic or just book adaptations, period, they don't always, you know, just really stick close to the source material. All throughout, the cinematography is banging, and it literally looks like you're flipping through a comic book. On point. Now, getting into the movie, we, you know, get into Wesley, who is a human with all the vampire strengths and none of their weaknesses. And we immediately get into that epic open rave scene that sets the tone for who the fuck Wesley Snipes is, who Blade is, and it's so good. Like, you remember the 90s when, like, raves was everything? People was high, jumping around at raves. We got into that, but it was a vampire edition. It really sets the tone, and it looks really good because you get this downpour of all this blood, and you just see Wesley come in, and everybody just spread like, oh, that's that nigga. That's that dude. Like, we might want to back up. It is just everything, and we get into the martial arts of it all. Now, if you're into Wesley Snipes, then you know that he is all for, you know, he like him a little ling-lings. Girl, that's racist. But, you know, he's all into the, you know, the Japanese culture, the martial arts, the training, all of that. That's him. So this role fit him like in epic proportions. He was made for this role. So all of, you know, the fight scenes, the stunt work, the choreography, perfect. It looks so good here, and you couldn't tell me Wesley wasn't whipping no ass. Now, after we get into Blade, you know, it's open season on all suckheads. We get into him killing everybody at the rave. We get into the graphics. Now, the graphics for 1998, I just watched it. It still holds up really well. Of course, it is, you know, back then, so it's not perfect, but for what it was, I didn't mind it, especially with how extravagant and alluring they try to make deaths now in movies for things like, you know, monsters and vampires. You know, sometimes we want just a little sizzle and a little die out. We don't need a whole situation. But after that, we get into one of my favorite characters from this film, you know, opposite from Blade, because, you know, Blade was everything. And because there are a few characters here that I was just like, they couldn't find nobody else. But we get into Quinn, the vampire that just won't die. I love the banter and the back and forth that he has with Blade in the movie, and him being, you know, that crazy, quirky rock star like vampire. He's just out there, and, you know, him burning his ass to a crisp, at which we are introduced to Nebuchadnezzar, right? Y'all, as Karen. I love me some Nebuchadnezzar. You know, she was fresh off of Fresh. Y'all remember Fresh? Fresh was a good ass movie. And, you know, Dead Presidents, I really wish we saw more from her because she was so beautiful, really talented, great actress. But we're going to get more into her because I remember seeing, you know, Blade 2, and I was like, so she ain't here? But she was great here. We get introduced to her and her being, you know, a hematologist, at which, you know, Crispy wakes his ass up, bites her. And, you know, Blade doing those bomb-ass entrances in the movie and hit that, you know, I'm tired of slicing your ass up. And that's when we get into, you know, the plot really, you know, after, motherfucker, you out your damn mind? I love that line. But we get into the plot moving forward, and Blade just not being able to leave her behind, with him being a loner and, you know, executing left and right. Like, he just could not leave her there because she reminded him so much of his mother. And that's when we get more into the graphics. Going back and watching this, I see a lot of, you know, motions and movements that was kind of giving me Matrix. When he threw homegirl out the window and threw himself out of the window and that whole situation happened, or even Crispy Quinn as falling and landing into those ambulance, like, those things really look good here. But him leaping and, you know, a scene later, it was very much giving me Matrix before Matrix. On point. Now, after that, this is where we get into Chris Christopherson, the Wesley character. I don't know why, but every time I see this man, all I hear in my head is, you know, rent-free, you gotta know when to hold 'em. Hey, know when to fold 'em. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. You never count your money while you're sitting. Has nothing to do with nothing. But his whole appearance just gives me that rugged Roadhouse look. You remember Roadhouse? Old dude with all the gray. He just gave me that. And here, Wrestler is very much, you know, Blade, you know, Alfred's the Batman, or what's the dude, Gamby from Black Lightning. He's that for him. He's, you know, that secondary helping hand. I'm here for you, you're here for me. We're all we have, you know, dependent relationship. Really great. He did really good with his role here. I absolutely loved it. We're going to get into what they did with his role later and leading into part 2, where I was like, why y'all do that? But we get into, you know, them trying to save Nebuchadnezzar and, you know, kind of taking pity on her like she's about to turn. But, you know, we can look out for you until then. And I really love getting into Nebuchadnezzar's character and the way she was written. She could have easily been written off as, you know, the helpless woman, the hanger-on. She was very much handling herself here, and she had a real role here. She could have been written off. She could have been disposable. She could have been used as a trope, you know, to murder and push the narrative along. Y'all know how I feel about that with the whole Michael B. Jordan movie, the Without Remorse situation. No, she was not used here for that. And it's not often that we see that, especially with a black character in a horror movie, in a comic book Marvel franchise. Never gonna see it again. Now, after we are, you know, made to know that, you know, Blade is a badass, he's a vampire, but he does not like to suck blood. He uses a serum instead. This is at the point where we are introduced to Frost. Now, Frost is one of those characters that I really wish had been played by someone else. He did not do bad here. His acting was not terrible here, but just the dynamics between him and, or just the stature between him and Wesley, I was just like, Frost, what's his name? I think Stefan Droff. You know what I'm talking about. He just was really cute and always gave me, you know, Backstreet Boy. You know, I just look at, tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say. He was giving me, I want it that way. Like, he was giving me boy band. I needed some rough, some rugged, something really big to counterpart Wesley. And he just was not giving me that, even though he did not do a bad job. He did trying to, you know, really commit to his character, but that's just my personal preference. I really would have preferred to see someone else in this role. But we get into, you know, Frost being up to something, and also him being, you know, kind of pushed to the side because he isn't a pure blood vampire, unlike, you know, everybody, his predecessors at the table who were all born into it. And he wants to be, you know, a new contemporary, new generation vampire. Like, I don't want to live in the dark anymore. I want to be free. I want to be out. I want to cut throats, eat people, suck blood and leave. Like, while we in the shadows, I want to be able to throw a rave and, you know, have blood. And the people are just completely against it. And that's when we get into Dragnet. I really wish, you know, the elder vampire, the head of the table, I really wish we got more time with him. I really liked his presence on screen and his whole dynamic, the whole accent, the whole, you are not that pure blood. Like, I really, really loved him. I was like, man, if we could have like switched their roles, or I don't know, something. But I really loved and enjoyed the time that we have with him on screen. I really liked what he conveyed for the character, you know, them going back and speaking and the language and the whole trying to figure out what's going on with Frost, trying to, you know, maintain that I'm in charge and we do things a certain way for a reason. You're causing a rift. I really liked the time we got with him. I wish we got some more. Now, it's at this point in the film that I realized that majority of the music was instrumental, and I really, really liked that because it didn't take away from any of the scenes. You weren't distracted by, oh, hey, I know that song, or listening for other things. You were really only listening to the dialogue and what was going on in the movie, which was really great. Now, the instrumentals here, most of it is performed by Prodigy. If you don't know Prodigy, you know, crazy Firestarter whole band. Might have, you know, if you hear it in Charlie's Angels, you'd be like, oh, that, you know, the music that's playing when the funny man is smelling the hair, it's Prodigy. It really fit well here with this film. Now getting into, you know, Karen and her whole character is really great, how she's used here as kind of bait, and you kind of think for 1 second like, damn, y'all rescued her, you know, just to leave her, even though she is about to change. But with her being a hematologist, she's, you know, like, no, I'm gonna try to fight this, I'm gonna try to find a cure, try to do this. And I love that she just was not helpless here. Like, oh my goodness, you don't know how many roles that we have to sit through of, you know, a man fighting and the female just, oh, oh, or they, oh, oh, like, no, it was none of that here. She was on it. She was in there with her garlic spray. She was all up, and I'm spraying your ass back up. But we get into a, you know, finding familiars and these characters leading us back to this epic club scene with, you know, Wesley just going in, hauling ass, fighting, beating up this poor familiar. This whole cop just kept getting his ass whooped, at which we are introduced to Pearl, this fat Jabba the Hutt vampire. It's like, what? I loved it. It was very comic book. It was, you know, it was very on brand. The whole blood god situation and, you know, the special writing in the scripture that Frost has been trying to translate for his, you know, whole screen time on the movie and what he's really up to and what Blade will be used for later. But we get into, you know, Pearl ass being fried to a crisp. And once we break that wall and get into that, you know, vampire library and, you know, the books and their whole Bible, that's when we get into the best things that this movie has to offer are those martial arts, epic fight scenes. And she only gets like 2 seconds on screen, but we have that little girl, the little black girl who's just sitting in a corner, and Blade is like, oh, let me help you, baby. And she's like, nope, bam, 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 bam. It's like, oh, she whooping ass. It's really great when we have those moments, and the movie really shines when we get to see Wesley shine as far as, you know, action wise. But we have all of that going on. We have Quinn coming in with his fresh ass hand trying to get some payback from Wesley, but Wesley has Wessler coming in with the backup, and that's when we get that great intense, you know, fight scene and some shooting that transcends off into the subway scene, and, you know, Wesley grabbing on that whole fight within the whole train car. Like, it's really great. It was really, you know, them chasing after the train. I was like, this is good. This been this good this whole time. Like, I was really invested in having. I do recall going to see this in the movies, but of course I was 8. And, you know, you watch it here and there, but now that I'm getting into commentary, I really like how things were colliding here and things were escalating up until the point where we got to, you know, the really big climax of the film. We had so much action in between there. It really, really added to the film and made that grand reveal at the end, that big fight, even more epic. And it's at this point that we get into Wessler really spending more time with Karen's character as she's, you know, trying to help with the serum and the whole cure situation. And we get more backstory on Blade and, you know, him being found as a kid and her kind of sympathizing with him and seeing where she comes from after she realized, like, oh, you're not, you know, some monstrous, you know, anomaly. You're a vampire also. But you see how, you know, much of a loner he is, and he's, you know, really resentful for ever even biting someone and just wants to make sure he never does that again. And boy, does that pay off in the end. But this is when we get into Wesley needing more serum and going, but actually running into Frost for the first time, and we have, you know, their first initial meetup. Now, you know, the rules here for vampires here are quite different. It was a little cheesy for them to just be able to put on, because, you know, the most intense things about vampires are them having to always avoid sunlight. So for them to just be able to put on some sunblock here and walk out there, I was like, sunblock, huh? Okay. But we get to that whole conversation of Frost kind of offering a truce and wanting him to join him, which I think was, you know, a whole ruse for him to actually capture him, and because he needed him, you know, for that whole ritual and the whole 12 situation and that blood of a daywalker in the center. But that's when we get into, you know, those bullets flying, and we get that dodge, and he throws the little girl into oncoming traffic. I was like, them whole bullets, it was giving me Neo. It was giving me you the one. I was like, look at y'all, predating stuff. I like it. Now, this is also where we get into things like Karen being an epic black hematologist on screen and, you know, trying to find that cure and not only, you know, getting Wesley Snipes' blood, but we also get into Frost feeling like Dragnet is getting a little bit closer to figuring out what he has going on, and knowing that I guess it felt like it was a whole, you know, the pack is a little weaker without their leader, and kills Dragnet. And I was like, damn. And Dragnet went out and he had that really good dialogue and was really conveying stuff and really acting. I was like, man, we need some more of that. Like, why he dying so soon? We needed some more of that man on screen. And you have, you know, you have Frost and his homegirl, you know, white chick, putting the motorcycle helmets on. And they're like, yeah, I was like, I guess. Now, after all of that, and Karen finds a cure, and, you know, things are looking up, and she, you know, shoots herself, and she's healing. Because at this point, it was like, you gonna die, girl. You in danger. Molly, you in danger, girl. You finna die any day. But no, she finds a cure and figures out how to heal herself and gives, you know, Blade this blue magic shit that blows up vampires. But once he, you know, has that meeting with Frost, they come in and they capture Karen and kill Whistler. And this is when we get into, you know, all the things that really piss me off in the franchise. Like, Blade coming back and realizing that, you know, Karen has been captured, and which I'm so glad they didn't switch it and use Karen, you know, to be the motivation. Because, you know, we love to kill the woman. Got to kill the black woman. He needs the motivation, girl. You got to die. Nope. We got Wesley's ass. Which was really epic when it happened. I remember, if I remember any scene, I remember that, because you get so much of Blade, you know, being a loner. I don't need anyone. I roll solo. I don't really, you know, have much compassion. I'm just here, you know, to do a job and be alone. But you see him kind of opening up to Nebuchadnezzar's character, but you see he has all the standing in the world and a real big love for Whistler. So it's really epic when, you know, he's just beat to the, you know, the point of no return, and he just wants to off himself. And he, you know, walk the fuck away, kid. Like, get the hell out of here. Because, you know, it's so hard for Blade to leave, and he leaves and he shoots himself, and it's so dramatic. And we see that gun fall, and it's all slow motion and deep music. And then they break his ass back for the second one. It was like a whole reanimator for the Whistler character. Like, I was like, how many times we gonna bring back Whistler? How many times? What was the point of getting us all invested? Like, that was really the push in the movie for Wesley to become, you know, when he, you know, does the whole energy thing and prays, you know, burns his crystals and some sage. Oh no. Prays over his sword, you know, takes that plant and cuts the roots off. Like, yeah, nigga, like, and then we just brought him back. I was like, what shit? Yeah, I ain't like that. So after we, you know, get into Karen and goddamn Frost offering her, I'm like, he wanted to offer all the black ladies a seat at the table, right? Like, you know, I could bring you in. Like, Frost was not checking for a little snow bunny who was next to him the entire movie. Like, he was a black chick in the bed in the beginning. Then you have Wesley Snipes, you know, Blade's mom. And then you roll it up on the Boucher. Like, back off. Back off. I thought that was really cute though. But it's at that point that, you know, the film like really picks up, and my favorite shit starts to happen when we get into Blade coming to fucking attack. Oh, we get into all the action, and it's just, you know, him arriving. Now, the movie is not perfect in any means, because you have, like, Frost, like, you know, capture him. How hard can it be? It's just one man. Get his ass. I need him alive. There's so much talk of I need him alive. And it's just, you know, epic, you know, like, you know, he sends the team, and you have the whole subway, and Quinn and old girl in the beginning. It's like, y'all couldn't capture him. Y'all couldn't do it. Nigga, you couldn't capture him. You couldn't do it. So why is it like, yeah, it's just one man. It's been just one man this whole film, and y'all couldn't get his ass. You think y'all could just get him now? But we have him, you know, coming in, and that's kicking your ass. And he's coming in, kicking ass, blowing up, like, man, like, just to go back and see everything showed like full blown. I don't really know, you know, all the action terminology for films, but when you watch films now and they try to, you know, flash and everything's going so quickly and all these impactful shots and everything's really sped up and you're moving so much to the fact that like you don't even know what the fuck is going on and who's being hit. No, everything here was really strategic. You could see every movement from Wesley and his counterparts, you know, trying to attack him, the gunmen, the ninja-like war, like everybody. It was so nice just to see what the fuck was going on. I love the lighting of this film, the tint, the blue, the hues. Nothing was dark. Like, they weren't trying to shy away from, okay, yeah, we're gonna cut. You can really tell that Wesley was in it. He was doing his own stunts, and everything was just fucking working in motion. Like, thank you. We want to see some stuff sometimes. It's only so many times we just want to see this and all. It's like, slow down. Let us see what's happening. Wesley was kicking ass and he was too busy looking good. You look good. Go, Wesley. Now, it's at this point that Wesley is captured and we get into another character that I was just like, y'all couldn't get nobody else. And I absolutely love her. But Sanaa Lathan here did absolutely nothing for me. And it was like, girl, have you acted before? Just like, Eric. Is that you? Like, y'all didn't just, like, girl, he was taken from you when he was a whole, like, fresh out the womb. Like, but okay. Her acting and her portrayal as his mother and, you know, this vampire who Frost had, you know, the whole time. He was the actual initial. That kind of made him like Wesley's, you know, vampire daddy, if you think about it. But you have that whole thing and it's just supposed to be really dynamic. And it's a good scene, but I'm taken out of it because I already don't really care that much for Frost as that leading, you know, villainous type of man. And then you have Sanaa over here giving me Eric. I was just like, girl, shut up. But it's at this point, you know, they feel like they won. He's captured and, you know, he's doing that, you know, that villain talk. You know, you got to give your whole speech before you fuck shit up. But he throws the serum and the sword and the whole play. And you have Nebuchadnezzar who's thrown in there, you know, with the X, the whole dude from the beginning who's a vampire zombie who's trying to attack her and she's maneuvering her way out of there. And then you have the elderly gods that I was like, what's up with these gods, these vampire, you know, elders, these purebloods who are just lining up to just go to their slaughter. I was like, y'all not gonna fight back? Aren't you vampires too? Do something. No, they just was like, ugh. I was like, okay. But it's that, you know, Wesley is captured and, you know, you think all is lost. Even though he is captured, he's really tired because he hasn't had his serum. And you see throughout the movie, he's built up a resistance to this serum. And it's just, you know, like waning on him. And he's, you know, put into that device and his blood is drained. And you have Frost in the middle waiting to become a blood god. And, you know, everything is colliding. And you have Karen trying to work her way. Like, the ending is really great. It's a really big climax. Everything really works well together to really give us a really big ending. Like, I just was so surprised, like, how well this movie was standing with me just watching it. I was like, this is good. But we have all these things going on and, you know, it's kind of like all hope is lost. And, you know, even Eric was there. You know what I'm saying? She was there. Saying her little spew as, you know, she put him in the chamber and, you know, vampires are going to take over and all of that. And, you know, you have the blood collide and him get his first, you know, drop. And it's just like, oh, whole blood god. And that's when we get into Nebuchadnezzar, you know, coming to find him. And then it got real sexual for a second. Like, you have, you know, Frost, who's, you know, blood up, you know, whole red. And it's like, he's invoking thee, real craft-like. And, you know, he's on point and he's ready. But you have Blade here who's down. You know, he's been drained already. He was already, you know, thirsty and all the blood is out. And you have Nebuchadnezzar. It's like, you know, she picks him up and they're like, their tone of skin is like almost so matchy and he has no shirt on. So they kind of look naked. And then she's like, you know, I want you to take some of my blood. And she's like, no. He's like, just do it. And he does it. And it's colliding with, you know, Frost changing. And it's all these thrusts and, no, stop. And it's just all of this happening here. And I was like, oh, my goodness. Okay. It just got real sexual for me. And I don't know if I brought this up before, but I didn't realize until going back that this was an R-rated comic movie. Like, this predated Deadpool and everything. Like, there was, I don't know if we could do the whole R-rating thing. We had already did it here. It was already here. But after we get, out of, stop, I was like, oh, okay. After that, we get into, he lets out that epic, lioness ass roar like, bitch, I'm coming. And it was like, oh, he got some real blood. This ain't that faux fake. This ain't the apple juice no more. He got some blood. Whew. But this is when shit, really, really kicks off. And, all that little compassion he had, like, are you my mom? And all that shock he had just a minute ago. He's just like, I must release you. Like, you got to release Eric? I'm your mother, Eric. You got to release your ass. Get her out of here. Get her off screen. I don't want to see her no more. But this is when, oh my goodness, if I tell you, I just go back randomly just to watch this particular scene when he drops down and it's like Frost and he just goes ham on every motherfucking his way and you can see everything. So good, so well performed. Wesley was selling that shit this whole movie. It really picked up for me here when he's going, he's fighting and he snatches out dude's throat and throws at another dude and slaps him and chokes him out, pushes another dude on the ground and hits that boom, 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 boom. I'm like, it just gets you so revved up and so involved in his character and the whole blade. And he, little baby rolls up and he slices his ass and glasses fly up and it's just like, oh bitch, I got my glasses back. I'm about to fuck shit up. Oh, fuck it up, Blade. Fuck it up. Fuck it up. And then that's when we get into that great, ending fight scene between him and Frost. I love when he goes to like do that same, like slice, bitch, I'm about to slice you up. I'm all full of, human blood. I'm about to slice you up and walk away. And he, sees him regenerate real quick and he turns and gives that. Like, oh, you a blood guy, you a god guy. Oh, okay, I got to put a little bit more stank on this. And they have that, that really great sword fight. This ding, 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 real Highlander-like. And they just going at it. And it's just so good. And you think for a minute, because, Frost was too busy talking shit. Man, I really wish he was portrayed by someone else. It would have been so much better. Because it was just like, oh, you about to whip Wesley's ass? Okay. But it's still good, and they hitting that, and they just going, and he's just like all this loss, and he noticed, that, oh, what, you're gonna go for your serum? Shut up, villain's always talking, and that shit falls, and he hits that, and fucking Frost out of nowhere, that always takes me out of the scene when Frost jumps up, and he's like almost like werewolf-like, and his body's crunched up, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he, shoots him with all of that blue magic serum. His ass starts to kind of swell up and he hits that. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. Shoot, bam! Kicks that shit in his forehead and that motherfucker spontaneously combust. Woo! It was good, y'all. I was having a good time. Wesley was fucking this shit up this whole movie. And that's when we get into, the ending of him telling Nebuchadnezzar's character, I don't want the serum. I don't want the cure. Just make me, more, for other people. I have more things to tackle in the future. And we end with that epic, him in Moscow, Russia. And you have it kind of opening the way it ending with, a vampire entrapping a human. And he speaks those languages and shoop, and that shit goes off. Good movie, y'all. Good movie. If you have not revisited and went back to watch Blade, you should go. Now, as far as all three are concerned, I really can give a take 3. Like, 3 was okay. You can tell really the third one, that's when the franchise was really kind of losing its way and they were trying to pull away from Wesley and include all of these characters like Ryan Reynolds and all of this, funny tidbits. And it was just like, okay. I really love this one because this one is the most grounded and most, I feel like, related to the comic. I really, this will always be my favorite. Now, the second one is when, we got a little bit more budget and the graphics and the way the vampires look there, like the design has always been really great, really good. Of course, I did not, like them bringing Wesley back. And, some of the dynamics changed there. But the second installment is still, a really good film also. But my favorite will always be the first. Now, tell me, how you guys feel about this movie. You know, when's your first time seeing this movie? Did you guys enjoy this review? What are your favorite scenes in Blade? And how do you feel about, you know, this review as a whole? You know, I always love the love. You know, you guys get down there in those comments and talk to me. I love responding, getting to hear what you guys have to say, good or bad. But I see you guys next time for my next review. Bye.